Hey everyone, welcome back to Miniature Painting 101, a series of videos where I teach you all about painting miniatures from start to finish and everything in between. And this is part 151, how to prepare MDF, or medium density fiberboard, some people call it. A really cool material that is typically is becoming very popular being used for terrain. So today we'll just show you how the basics of working with it for preparing it. So of course the first step is to punch it out of it. It usually comes out like a board like this and you punch it out. Now the key is obviously apply even pressure. Don't do it in the middle like I just did. What I like to do is apply really nice smooth pressure, just quickly push out from both ends. And just get nice even pressure when you're pushing it out. You don't want to accidentally break it. The stuff is quasi-fragile. It is a medium density fiberboard, but you still can break it. It's like a puzzle essentially, right? So you don't want to push it out and break it. You want to give you nice and ginger with it. You don't want to work it too hard because then it breaks and then you have to glue it back together. No one wins. So carefully punch it out of its board and then punch out the inner pieces as well. The key is as well, look at the final product and determine what pieces you can punch out, which ones don't. You don't want to accidentally punch out holes that you aren't supposed to. So I'm just carefully taking my time and removing all the extra little bits because as you see the final product is actually quite thin. You don't want to accidentally break it. And that's that. And that's basically it for taking it out of its and then what I'd like to do is I always like to take a hobby knife afterwards and quickly just remove some of the lines. And there are some hobby lines. What happens is if you remove as much of the excess pieces from around it, it allows it to fit together as nice as possible. I find that if you leave it together sometimes with the extra little lines, it can just be a little bit of a nuisance when gluing it together. And that's about it. So what I like to do next is I always like to put it together loosely. A lot of these things you can actually assemble almost without glue, but I always recommend using a bit of glue. So what I like to do next is just put it together to see how it fits together first before starting the gluing, because once you start gluing, you really got to put it together kind of quickly because this stuff really absorbs the glue. It's really absorbent, as you can see. So I like to just quickly see how it goes together, and it just snaps together. And you have two choices really with glue. You can use white glue, like Elmer's glue, or PVA glue, or super glue. I prefer super glue because it's a bit stronger and obviously much quicker. Now the thing is, when you're building a piece like this, as you see, it kind of falls apart if you don't put pressure on the areas. So I like to use super glue for that purpose. That way it goes on nice and dries quickly. As you can see, the stuff really absorbs it, so you gotta put a little extra on it. And what I like to do is keep it kind of close together. So right now, only that one wall is glued in, but I put the other walls up right now just so that they brace it and allow it to dry in the correct position. And I repeat this process by removing one part, putting then glue on it, and then putting it right back in. And that way, once again, it's propped up by the other walls and it allows it to dry in the correct position. And that's basically it. Once it's assembled, what I actually like to do is I like to try to seal it ahead of time. Now, you have a few choices of sealing. You can spray it with hairspray. Right now, I'm just spraying it with a varnish. And what it does is it seals it, because otherwise this is quite porous material and it will absorb paint like no one's business. The other actual option, which I'd highly recommend, is if you have an enamel-based primer. An enamel primer actually is really cool and has a great effect with this stuff, and actually gets it really close to almost like a plastic in feel. You can hardly tell that it's an MDF. Right now I'm just hitting it with a solid coat of varnish, which will essentially seal it, because you don't have to do it. This is an optional step, but what I do find is that it really does remove the quite absorbent nature of it. And then I just hit it with my whatever color primer you want. In this case, it's going to be a black Style Res primer from Miniwargamer. And as I said, if you really want to combine these steps, use an enamel primer. It's I know some people use it and they swear by it. Completely up to you whatever you want to use. I'm just going to hit a nice even coat of primer. But as you can see, even with the sealing, this MDF really just loves to drink in the paint, and that's what we want to essentially prevent, because otherwise you'd be using a lot of paint on it. So that's the whole point of the sealing, hopefully. And the next I'm just going to hit it with a primer. As you can see, just taking my time and getting a nice solid coat over the surface with Style Res primer. And of course, when priming MDF, go light. Go on the lighter side as opposed to heavier side. I'm just going to go light dusting, make sure it's nice and covered, but don't want to go too heavy. Once again, you don't want to make it too soggy. Sealing will help this, but you don't want to overspray the primer because then it actually leads to a little bit soggier of a board. Remember, this is just fiberboard, so you want to be very careful. And there we go. As you can see, it's just priming it nice and evenly. And then afterwards, just let it dry entirely. And you can paint it however you wish. And here's what the product looks like when it's done. As you see, it's just primed. And it's good to be painted. It's actually nice and harder now. The enamel with the varnish really helps with that. And then you can paint it however you wish with a hand brush or an airbrush. I actually really love airbrushing my terrain, but it's completely up to you. And you can paint it however you wish. It's just really cool. It's a great material to use for painting terrain, for building terrain, sorry. And that's why it's becoming so popular in the wargaming community. And that's it. So as always, thank you so much for watching this episode of Miniature Painting 101. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned a bit about working with MDF. It's pretty simple. And yeah, it's great to paint with an airbrush. Stay tuned for more episodes of Miniature Painting 101. Leave comments in the comments section down below of what you want to see in future videos. And I'll do my best to make sure that every suggestion happens. Stay tuned for more videos. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting.